water element is a sensitive soul, is like the child soul. He's dreamy, sensitive, is like feminine, the yin element compared to the yang, yin yang, and it's an artistic soul. The water element looks for a perfect harmony and perfect union and a perfect peace. So the water element can be drawn in imagination. So during his life, the water element will have two choices, two paths. The first path can be a good path that make him or her to progress and to ensure to be stronger. But the water element will often back down and goes to the other path that seems in appearance more beautiful and harmonious. But it's a trap. The tide will advance and will drown the water element slowly. The first path that can enroute the water element is like a dark mountain that makes the water element to be scared. But if the water element is enough brave to take it, he will find his solution, and on the top of the mountain he will find the peace and the freedom. But most of the time, in most of the case, the devil will tell him or her not to move, not to go to this path, and will say him, don't act, it's going to be okay, everything is going to be alright, like the song of John Lennon, Let It Be. So the water element want to stay in his opium bubble and skip the other path that would make him or her stronger. So there is the water element that is yang and the water element that is yin. So when it's a young water element, he's blooming in his element. He's like a kind of beautiful and harmonious ephebia, a beautiful man or young intelligent woman. It's especially a beautiful soul, beautiful personality. This water element yang made the effort to take the bull by the horns, so he's a harmonious, non-violent person that is blooming in his realm that can be in sport, cinema, or art, or anything else. He's closer to a ram than a goat, If the person is yin, he will be less adult and more from the teenager, like the eternal teenager, to the child. An adult, but like a child. He's like a kind goat that is more naive and utopist and little weak in his element. For man, he's starting to lose his virility and man aspect to become very feminine and androgynia. And if he's yin, like very shy, he's becoming like a turtle. The energy that goes downwards, an energy that flows seeking the harmony. So it's slowly like a turtle. It can fall in depression and agoraphobia and can fall in the phenomenon of Peter Pan, like remaining in the childhood mindsets. During the first meeting, the water element will be more in the frequency of the energy and especially in the beauty energy, like a beautiful face, like a beautiful voice, like beautiful words. So the water element analyzes a situation more by the energy, the sensation, more than by the brain. Sometimes he or she will not speak much and will more observe, but if she or he speak, She will be also sensitive to being listened and to be praised. So even if you are in the truth, the water element will never listen to you if you have an aggressive intonation, even if it's with sincerity for his sake, to make him or her waking up. The water element is often the victim of the narcissistic perverse, the psychological vampire. The narcissist express beauty and charming and romantic so that the water element fall in the trap. Normally it's more women who are chased and are victim of narcissists, but nowadays more and more men are also taken by female narcissistic. Our epoch has the characteristic to reverse the yin and the yang. More and more men are becoming feminine and more women are becoming more masculine. If we take the metaphor of a pack of goats to describe the quest of the four elements, each element has a different quest. The pack of goats is the symbol of innocence and childhood, as we all begin by childhood. We were all child. So the metal element will say to the pack of goats, we must find a chief, we must find a boss. And I think that I would be the perfect boss. And we must reach the perfection and the eternity by building the Babel Tower. So slowly the metal element will change from goat to a giraffe that manipulates. He will try to maintain the other goats in their goat state to make them like puppets, easy to manipulate. He will put the world in an illusion bubble and he will secretly control the world. The second element, the earth element, from the pack of goats will tell them we must eat more, we are too slim. We must profit of life, like carpe diem philosophy. So he will get weight, will get bigger and bigger until becoming a big lamb and then changing to become a bear. And then for the fire element, starting by the pack of goats, he will say to the pack, we must train and we must get stronger until reaching a superhero force to fight against a threat that will come one day. And we will struggle and fight until the victory, and we will become hero, respected and admired by people. From the state of goats, the fire element will become a ram until becoming a bull and going out from the state of goat. So the three third elements want to go out to leave the childhood state and the pack of goats. So the metal element wants to become a giraffe, an adult that manipulates. The earth element wants to become a bear, to have a generous life and to consume life like in carpe diem philosophia. The fire element wants to become a bull and to become a teenager, always in action. And finally, the particularity of the water element is that he wants to remain in the childhood state. He wants to avoid anything that belongs to the adult world, like taking the bull by the horns and facing real problems. Anything that is bitter and hard, like opposition or separation, is a nightmare for him. He wants a world with a perfect peace and permanent peace, like a kind of paradise that is not on the earth, like a musical peace and love, and the animals talk to the humans. So from the pack of goats, the goats of water element will talk together and say, we must find the perfect peace, so everybody can do what they want as long as they respect the peace and the beauty, so nobody can be rejected if he's beautiful and peaceful. The key for the water element is the consideration of what seems to be beautiful and what seems to be dark, bitter and hard, like a mountain to climb. And also what seems to be fun and full of colors, and what seems to be boring and without any taste and not charming at all. So the water element must think if he must be less in the sensitive and in the energy than in the brain, and to analyze things, to be more rooted. He must analyze if always saying yes and always open the door is good for his own equation. Or maybe he must learn to say no and to cut with some people. He or her can keep his creativity and sensibility that are his strong points, but he must get stronger, but not necessarily by the body. To get muscle can be beneficial for the water element to have more roots. But the most important is to stronger the character, to learn to say no, and to learn to organize and to foresight. And also to consider things more by the brain than by the emotion. This emotion can deceive the water element. The water element must pass from the orange vision of the hippie that wants to see only the beauty, or by the rainbow vision, to the brown glasses. Those brown glasses see by the brown ray that is more grounded and that is more realistic, less utopist. The water element must also pass from the kind goat that avoid to face the real problems to the ram who try to face the problems. Finally, the water element must pass from the liquid state of water to the solid state of water, the iceberg, the ice. One tool that can be interesting for the water element is to ask himself what is in his life that seems to be ideal and beautiful like a rainbow, and what seems to be hard, bitter and tough like a mountain to climb. Maybe he must reverse his choice and to go to what his soul doesn't want. For example, I know many people that are maybe water element that don't want to marry and to have children. They said, I see my brothers or my sister with his or her kids, and I really don't like that kind of life that is really boring and also scary because it's a big responsibility. But myself, I like to be single, I like my freedom, I like to have fun, and I haven't to answer to anyone. And also others will say, I want to travel all my life. I like my freedom and I'm not in the jail of the family and attached to anyone. And then in love, for example, for women, maybe stopping to look for the charming prince that can be a narcissist and giving a chance to every man, a average Joe that maybe can be the key, the door of the bliss, even if he's less charming and seems to be a dark mountain to climb. And for male, being romantic and sensitive is very good, and expressive your love to your girlfriend is also good, but maybe it's better to be more male and showing more authority, or you will always suffering of narcissistic woman and bully woman. And also in spirituality, you should dig what is behind the New Age spirituality. Like for example, Amma, the Indian woman that is very famous for hugging people like an ocean of love. But if you dig, maybe you will discover that actually she is hugging their wallet and money. Same with Sadhguru, the wise enlightened man that plant trees everywhere in the world. If you inquest, maybe you will discover a wolf disguised in a lamb costume. A businessman, a politician that just took the clothes of a sadhu as a tool to earn $1 million. His real face would be more this. And finally, the Dalai Lama, the so-called ocean of wisdom. If you inquest, maybe you will discover that the Lama tradition was a tradition of racketeering land and not so wise. A hidden mafia. And also, Lama Buddhism is linked to ancient shamanic Tibetan religion that are based on tantric practice that consists to a fusion between the yin and the yang, the male and female energy. So that's why there was so much abusing women affairs in the Lamaism Buddhism, and they were covered up by the Dalai Lama himself. In conclusion, for the water element to be in an opium bubble can be actually a cage, a loop. So when he is in the crossroad of two ways, he should skip the path that seems to be beautiful to choose the dark mountain that seems hard to climb. Doing the opposite of the ego can create an electroshock that will make the door to open for a new birth.